The huge space station floated silently among the stars, its long corridors and glass-walled observation decks glowing with light. It was called Aurora Prime, a place where hundreds of alien species came to trade, learn, and explore. Among the crowds of visitors, a tiny alien girl named Lyra moved quietly, trying not to draw attention to herself. She was a Valyrian, a small race known for their soft violet skin and gentle hums. Lyra was smaller than most of the children on the station, barely half the height of a human, and her three-fingered hands clutched a translucent notebook filled with drawings of stars, plants, and strange creatures from her home world. Lyra liked to observe quietly. She loved the way the sunlight glimmered through the station's glass walls, creating patterns on the metal floors. She hummed soft melodies from her home planet, which only a few could hear. But today she was not unnoticed. A group of older, burly alien students called the Krath had spotted her. They were known for their bullying and enjoyed teasing anyone who looked different. When Lyra tried to join the games in the playground area, the Krath surrounded her. "Pygmy Valyrian," one of them shouted, pointing at her. "Sing your little song for us." The other Krath laughed, echoing his words, and the circle of children around them parted to watch. Lyra's violet skin seemed to darken as she hugged her notebook closer, hoping no one would notice her shaking. She tried to explain, I don't want to, but the Krath snatched her notebook, tossing it up and catching it like a toy. Pages bent and bent until one tore. Her voice broke and she stepped back, tears forming in her large round eyes. Nearby, a human boy named Avery noticed what was happening. Avery was 14, tall for his age, with a curiosity that often led him into trouble. He had been observing Lyra in class, fascinated by the melodies she hummed and the way she sketched the stars and plants of her home world. He had wanted to talk to her, but she was shy and always seemed to drift away from everyone else. Seeing her in danger now made his stomach clench. He felt a surge of determination he hadn't known he possessed. "Hey, leave her alone," Avery shouted, stepping into the circle of Krath and other children. The Krath stopped, surprised that a human would challenge them. "Who are you?" one demanded, his voice deep and rough. "This alien is ours to amuse." Avery's heart beat faster, but he didn't back down. "You don't get to treat her like that," he said firmly. The other children murmured, unsure if they should step back or step in. The tallest Krath lunged toward Avery, but he sidestepped, blocking the path between Lyra and the bullies. Lyra's tears flowed freely now. She had never experienced someone standing up for her like this. "It's okay," Avery said softly, reaching out a hand. "I've got you." Lyra looked up at him with wide eyes, unsure if she could trust anyone. But something in his steady gaze reassured her. Slowly, she nodded and allowed him to guide her away from the crowd. Once they were a safe distance away, Avery helped Lyra sit on a low bench near a small indoor garden. Strange plants from different planets glowed under soft lights. The scents were gentle, unlike the harsh smells of the playground and crowded corridors. Lyra hugged her notebook to her chest, still trembling. Avery crouched in front of her. "It's okay. They can't hurt you anymore," he said. Lyra sniffled. I tried to play with them, but they..." Her voice faltered and she looked down at her torn notebook. "They said I was too small, too weak, that I didn't belong." Avery glanced at the notebook. Some pages were bent, some ripped, but the drawings were still visible. He gently turned a page and smiled. "Look at this," he said. "You made all of this. It's amazing. You belong here just as much as anyone." Lyra blinked, unsure how to respond. No one had ever said something like that to her. Most humans and aliens she had met either ignored her or laughed at her differences. Avery's words were strange but comforting. Why are you helping me?" she asked softly. Avery shrugged, a small smile forming on his face. "Because it's the right thing to do, and because I think everyone deserves a friend." For the first time since arriving at the station, Lyra felt a flicker of hope. Avery stayed with her, and they began talking about her drawings and the melodies she hummed. She explained the symbols in her notebook, how each represented a star or a plant or an emotion from her home world. Avery listened carefully, asking questions and drawing simple notes to remember her words. He was fascinated not by the differences in her race, but by the creativity and depth in her work. Meanwhile, the Krath grumbled in the distance, realizing that their bullying had not intimidated Lyra. They had expected her to shrink further, cry silently, or run away forever. Instead, she had a human boy standing with her, protecting her. Their confidence faltered slightly. Some of the children who had laughed began to look away, unsure if they wanted to be part of the teasing anymore. Power did not always lie with the loudest voices. A few days later, Lyra cautiously ventured out again, this time with Avery walking beside her. They went to the observation decks and watched the stars streak past the station. Lyra told him stories of the Valyrian world, of the oceans that shimmered in violet light, of forests that hummed softly in the wind. Avery shared stories of Earth, of oceans that stretched endlessly, mountains that scraped the sky, and forests where animals of every kind lived together. Even though their worlds were far apart, they found common ground in their curiosity and wonder. As Lyra grew more comfortable, she began to smile around other children too. Avery encouraged her to join small games, and gradually, other kids approached, intrigued by her sketches and melodies. Some of the younger children tried to mimic her humming, while others asked her to draw them a picture of a distant star. Lyra's confidence began to grow slowly but steadily. She realized that being small did not make her weak. It allowed her to see the world differently, to notice beauty that others often overlooked. The Krath, however, did not forget. They watched her from a distance, muttering and plotting. They wanted to embarrass her again, to prove that she was still an outsider. But Avery stayed close, alert to any sign of trouble. Lyra felt safer with him around, though she still remained cautious. She learned to rely on her own wits as well, finding clever ways to avoid the Krath or to respond without fear. Avery never asked her to fight. He only asked her to trust in herself and in their growing friendship. One afternoon, the Krath struck again. They waited until Lyra was alone near the festival grounds, then snatched her notebook and held it high above their heads. "Your little book belongs to us now," one shouted. Lyra's heart pounded. She felt smaller than ever. Her mouth opened to protest, but the words caught in her throat. Avery, who had been nearby, sprinted forward. "Stop, give it back," he yelled. The Krath laughed at him. "And what are you going to do, human? You can't do anything to us." Avery's chest tightened, but he didn't back down. "You're wrong," he said. "We're not alone." At that moment, children who had quietly watched the bullying began stepping forward. They formed a protective circle around Lyra, their faces determined. Humans, Valyrians, and even a few small creatures from Artrin joined them. The Krath hesitated, realizing that their actions were no longer uncontested. Avery reached Lyra's side and gently grabbed her hand. "It's okay," he whispered. "You don't have to be afraid. We're here with you." Lyra looked at him, then at the growing circle of children around her. For the first time, she felt true courage, not the kind that came from fighting, but the kind that came from having friends who stood by her side. Slowly, she lifted her notebook and held it close, ready to face the crowd. The Krath muttered angrily, but retreated, realizing that the unity of others outweighed their power. Avery and the children returned Lyra's notebook, careful not to tear any pages further. Lyra opened it, and a faint glow seemed to rise from her violet skin as she hummed a soft melody from her home world. The crowd quieted, listening to the tune. Avery smiled, encouraging her silently. The melody grew, joined by whispers and hums from the other children. Even those who had laughed before now listened, captivated. When the song ended, Lyra's eyes sparkled with tears of happiness. Avery patted her shoulder. "See, your song matters. And so do you." Lyra nodded, feeling stronger than she ever had. She had faced fear, faced bullying, and discovered that courage often came in quiet forms. Friendship, support, and belief in oneself were sometimes the greatest powers of all. As the sun-like lights of the station glimmered, Lyra and Avery walked toward the observation deck, their hands brushing occasionally. Lyra pointed to the distant stars, telling him about her home world. Avery listened eagerly, fascinated by the worlds beyond his own. The Krath were gone, at least for now, but Lyra had learned an important truth. Even in a universe vast and full of dangers, someone would stand up for you. And if you were brave enough to trust, others would stand with you too. The soft wind of the observation deck, the glowing plants, and the hum of the station created a feeling of calm. Lyra tucked her notebook safely under her arm and felt a small smile spread across her face. For the first time, she didn't feel invisible. She had Avery, she had friends, and most importantly, she had herself. The stars outside twinkled as if celebrating her courage, and Lyra hummed a quiet tune, knowing that tomorrow she would try again. And maybe, just maybe, too. The days after the playground incident were quieter, but Lyra's life on the station was far from simple. While she had Avery by her side, she still felt the weight of being different. Her violet skin, small size, and soft voice made her a target for those who could not see past appearances. Yet she felt a growing strength inside herself, a confidence that came not from avoiding danger, but from facing it with friends who believed in her. Avery stayed close, walking with her through the long corridors filled with traders, scholars, and children from countless planets. The station's gardens, with their glowing alien plants, became their refuge. Lyra would show Avery sketches in her notebook, brightly colored planets, plants that seemed to sing, and strange creatures she had never seen anywhere else. Avery would nod and ask questions, fascinated by the worlds Lyra had never left. "Do you think I could ever see a place like this?" he asked one afternoon, peering at a sketch of a forest that shimmered in violet light. Lyra shook her head and smiled faintly. "Maybe one day, but for now I can bring it to you here." The Festival of Interstellar Cultures was approaching, and Lyra was excited and nervous. She had been asked to demonstrate her Valurian song sketching to a small group of curious children and adults. It was her chance to share a piece of her world, and Avery encouraged her every step of the way. "You're ready," he told her. "People will see how amazing you are." Lyra nodded, gripping her notebook tightly, still unsure if the audience would accept her. On the morning of the festival, the station's central hall was alive with colors, lights, and the buzz of different languages. Stalls displayed exotic foods, glowing plants, and holographic models of faraway worlds. Children ran from one exhibit to another, laughing and pointing. Lyra clutched her notebook and followed Avery through the crowd, her small feet moving quickly. They found the area where she would perform, a small stage set with soft lights. As Lyra prepared, Avery noticed movement at the edge of the crowd. The Krath had come again. Their sneers were sharp, and they whispered to each other, clearly planning trouble. Lyra's heart sank. She had hoped they had left her alone, but now she realized that courage was not the absence of fear. It was acting despite it. Avery placed a hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry," he said. "We're not alone. Look around you. Everyone here is ready to listen." Lyra took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. She opened her notebook and began to hum. The soft, melodic sound filled the hall, gentle as a breeze. At first, only a few curious children paused to listen. Then more began to stop, drawn to the unusual and beautiful tune. Lyra's hands moved over the pages of her notebook, showing delicate sketches of planets and forests, and the crowd leaned closer to see. The Krath shouted, trying to disrupt her performance. "Your song is nothing," one yelled. "Look at you, a tiny alien." But the crowd did not turn away. The children who had stood with Lyra before now moved closer to the stage. Avery stepped to the front, raising his hand. "Everyone listen," he said. "This is Lyra's world. She has something to share, and we should respect it." Lyra's melody grew stronger, more confident, as she felt the support around her. Children and even some adults began humming along, their voices blending with hers. The Krath were stunned. No amount of shouting or intimidation could break the unity of the group surrounding Lyra. They hesitated, realizing that their bullying had no power here. The audience quieted as Lyra pointed to a sketch of a distant nebula. "This is my home," she said softly, her voice trembling but clear. "My people sing these songs to remember the stars when we travel through space. I want you to hear them too." The hum of the Valurian melody filled the hall again, and more voices joined in, translating and harmonizing. Even some of the Krath children listened, their sneers fading as they felt the beauty of the music. When the song ended, there was a moment of silence. Then applause began, gentle at first, then growing louder and stronger. Lyra's small frame glowed faintly with emotion. She had shared a piece of her world, and people had accepted it. Avery smiled, his eyes shining with pride. "See?" he whispered. "You did it. You showed them who you are." After the performance, many children and adults came forward to speak with Lyra. They asked questions about her planet, her songs, and her drawings. Some wanted to try singing with her, while others asked for lessons in sketching the stars. Lyra answered each question patiently, her confidence growing with every smile and nod of interest. She realized that sharing her differences had not made her weaker, it had made her stronger. The Krath, meanwhile, had retreated to the back of the hall. They watched quietly, unable to interrupt the acceptance and admiration surrounding Lyra. For the first time, they understood that strength was not only about size or loudness. Lyra's courage, combined with the support of friends, had created something far more powerful than their intimidation. Avery and Lyra walked through the festival together after the performance. Lyra showed him a small booth with glowing plants from her planet. "Do you think they will bloom like this at home?" she asked. Avery looked at the soft light reflecting on the glass leaves and nodded. "I think they already do," he said. "But it's amazing to see them here too." Lyra laughed softly, the sound like a gentle bell. "I never thought I could be brave," she admitted. "But I think I am. Because of you. Because of everyone who stood with me." Avery smiled, shrugging. "You were brave all along. I only helped you see it." The festival continued late into the night with children from different worlds playing games, sharing foods, and trading stories. Lyra and Avery found a quiet spot on the observation deck overlooking the stars. They sat side by side watching distant planets drift past. Lyra opened her notebook and began sketching new patterns she had noticed at the festival. The way the lights glowed, the expressions on children's faces, the shimmering colors of plants. Avery jotted notes beside her sketches, fascinated by the details she captured. "Do you think we can do this again?" Lyra asked, looking up at the stars. "Perform together?" Avery nodded. "Of course. We can share more of your world, and maybe help others share theirs too." Lyra smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her small frame. She knew that the future would hold challenges, but she also knew that she was no longer alone. The Krath never came near her again after the festival. Some of them whispered among themselves, learning that their bullying had no effect. Others simply watched from a distance, curious but unwilling to approach. Lyra realized that fear was temporary, but courage and friendship could last. In the following weeks, Lyra and Avery started small meetings with children from different planets. They called it the Star Club, a place where anyone could share stories, songs, and drawings from their home worlds. Slowly, the club grew. More children joined, eager to learn from Lyra and each other. The station became a little brighter, a little kinder because of the tiny alien girl who had found her voice and the human boy who had believed in her. Lyra's confidence grew day by day. She walked taller, spoke louder, and hummed her songs without fear. Avery remained by her side, always encouraging, always listening. Together, they taught others that being different was not a weakness, it was a gift. And when the Krath or any others tried to intimidate, they were met with unity, friendship, and the courage of a small alien girl who refused to be silenced. One evening, as the station lights dimmed and the stars outside shone brighter than ever, Lyra opened her notebook and hummed a quiet song. Avery listened, adding his own soft hum alongside hers. The melodies intertwined, rising into the vastness of space. The distant planet seemed to shimmer in response, as if acknowledging her courage. Lyra smiled, feeling the warmth of belonging for the first time. She realized that no matter how small she was, her voice, her art, and her heart could shine across the universe. Avery looked at her and whispered, "You've changed this place, Lyra. Not just with your song, but with your courage. People see you now." Lyra nodded, her violet eyes reflecting the stars. "And I see them too. The universe is not so lonely after all." As the station continued its silent journey among the stars, Lyra and Avery walked hand in hand across the observation deck. Together they had faced fear, learned bravery, and discovered the power of friendship. And as they looked out at the glowing nebulae and distant planets, Lyra knew that her story was only beginning. The universe was vast and full of challenges, but she was ready to face them with her voice, her art, and her friends by her side. The tiny alien girl, once bullied and afraid, had grown into a figure of courage and inspiration. And the human who had stood by her had shown that even the smallest act of kindness could change the course of a life, and perhaps the course of a universe.